Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Today, we're taking a look at some content from FatSapphicBro. Apparently, they asked their doctor to increase their diabetes medication so that they could have more freedom with their diet.
Bruh.
So again, content warning for disordered eating. This person says, so as a diabetic, do you try and watch your sugar, or do you not acknowledge it at all so you don't restrict and then binge? So I used to...
Or do you not acknowledge it at all so you don't restrict and then binge? You better not acknowledge the fact that you're not supposed to have sugar, otherwise you might not have sugar, and then go on to have way too much sugar.
pretty heavily keep an eye on my sugars and carb intake.
You used to keep an eye on your sugar and carb intake very heavily.
And I found that I kept still getting into really bad cycles of prolonged binging and then restricting. And
Are you sure there was any restricting? Thinking about controlling yourself in the slightest bit will just send you into a rage of binging, if you will. It's more like a rage, like it's so aggressive and violent, the binging, that you could call it a rage, like going into a blind rage of binge.
was making things worse for me in a lot of ways.
You shouldn't have done the binging part. You should have done the restricting the sugar part only. Or just completely destroy your body with sugar. I mean, whatever works for you.
I've been a diabetic since 2014, and so I have learned a lot about how my body reacts to certain foods, and so I have a good idea of what are safe thresholds for my body.
You've been a diabetic since 2014. So, overconsumption of carbs and sugar gave you diabetes, and you continue to overconsume carbs and sugar, exacerbating your diabetes. I see. Good thing you learned your lesson.
But I was also able to talk to my doctor about adjusting my medication so that I am able to not have to restrict as much, so I have a little bit more support from my medication.
I see. So, your doctor allowed you to increase your medication so that you can eat more sugar. Wow, your doctor should be stripped of their license. Your doctor probably should not have agreed to that. Like, yeah, sure, we'll give you more insulin injections so you can eat more cakes or whatever. Sure.
So, I'm still only on the one medication, but I upped my dose by just a little bit, so that way I would not have to restrict as severely.
So you could eat more sugar, is the translation there.
And now I can have a little bit more freedom with my food, and I don't have to, I still kind of keep an eye for general counts, but I don't have to actually excessively count or calculate or anything like that.
Right, because you were definitely doing that at one point, I'm sure. I'm sure you were totally calculating and counting and doing all the work of keeping track of all your food, which is why you keep having to increase the dosage of the medication as time goes on to deal with the increased levels of garbage food.
And then I still regularly check my blood sugar as I feel I need to. So,
good thing. You regularly check your blood sugar. That's good. It's a good thing to do that, you know. You just check it and watch it just keep on climbing. You keep eating the sugar though. I mean, you don't want to actually do anything to try to stop that sucker from going up like that, because that might be some form of disordered eating if you were to control yourself as a human being. So yeah, you just have to go completely off the rails. There's no sort of disordered eating to that mentality at all. People that just eat way too much, and especially garbage food like sugar and processed addictive chemical food, people that eat way too much of that and go completely off the rails, they don't have some kind of disordered eating in the complete opposite direction of a restrictive ED or anything. So it's a good thing that you make sure that you don't think at all about counting a calorie or restricting any sort of sugar or anything. Otherwise, you might restrict yourself from sugar for 5 minutes and then eat 20 more cakes than you would have already normally eaten for that day. So that's very bizarre. That's totally insane that your mind will snap. It will crack under the pressure of thinking about not having sugar for 5 minutes. Like, not actually restricting yourself from having it, but just the thought of like, hey, tomorrow I might not even have a pie. And they're like, feel like that thought just traumatizes you so much that you have to start binging immediately. You've got a very fragile psyche, don't you?
If I feel like maybe I'm having low blood sugar or high blood sugar symptoms, I will check it. If I feel like
And then what will you do? What happens if you do have high blood sugar or low blood sugar and you check it? Then what? Then you change your diet and get all disordered, or?
I ate something that might have elevated my sugar too much. I will check in with that just to kind of see and gauge. And
so if you think that you ate something that elevated your blood sugar a little too much, then you'll check your blood sugar after you ate the thing. Okay, so to consider the sugar of the thing before you eat it would be disordered eating. However, it is not disordered eating to just eat the sugary thing and then measure your blood sugar afterwards. That's pretty stupid. So do you add oil to your engine in your car after the engine seizes up?
Same with activity, because activity level can really affect your blood sugar level. I will often make sure to check my blood sugar alongside what types of activity I am doing.
What activity? You ain't doing any kind of activity, stop it.
Get an idea of what certain activities do to my blood sugar. I hope that answers your question. I hope that helps. Feel free to let me know if you have any other questions. Thanks.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how far off the rails are you? This really answers that question for me. Here you have told us that you are an 11. You've gone to your doctor and said, increase my medication so I can continue to eat what I would like. And this isn't probably your first doctor either. You probably had a doctor who did not agree to do that at first. And then you went doctor shopping. Doctor shopping is when you go from doctor to doctor until you get the diagnosis that you want. People with all kinds of disorders do this. All right, let's take a look at one bonus clip. In this one, they're talking about oppression this or some kind of bullshit. The usual.
This person says, by that logic, people can change their religion, and so therefore religion isn't something that we should protect against discrimination. That, exactly. It's so frustrating. Like, we also protect gender expression, and gender expression is solely a choice, right? Like, whether or not you're trans is not a choice, but how you choose to outwardly show your gender, that is a choice that we make, but it doesn't mean that we don't get discriminated when we, portray ourselves authentically. So, yeah, exactly. It's such, ridiculous logic. It's not logic, and, it's just fat phobia. People just really, really, really want to hate fat people.
Alright, so yes, you can change your religion, and you can change being fat. So this person is trying to make the point that you can change your religion just like you can change whether or not you're fat, so discrimination laws should protect you either way. You're not trying to be protected from discrimination because you're fat. What you guys really want to do is go around changing the world to make bigger elevators, bigger fire escapes, and all this other stupid nonsense accommodations for you. You're trying to make the point that you can't discriminate on people because of their religion. Therefore, you shouldn't be allowed to discriminate against people because of their weight. As far as I know, there's no such thing as weight discrimination going on anywhere, unless it's just a matter of simple physics, right? If you're a pole dancer, you can't be obese because you need to be able to climb the pole, right? There are certain positions where being obese, it just physically wouldn't really be possible, right? Like you want to be a lineman, the electrician who goes and climbs up on the pole and does all this crazy shit, swinging around from the fucking wires or some kind of wacky shit. He's up there doing a fucking trapeze act. I don't know what you bastards do. It's dangerous as fuck, and thank you for doing it. But I wouldn't see an obese person doing that. Either way, there's no discrimination, and being obese isn't in the same category as a religion, okay? Just because you can change your religion and you can also change the fact that you're obese doesn't mean that obesity is granted the same level of protection as a religion. Obesity is just a poor diet manifest into physical form. Anyway, that about does it. Thanks for watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one.